Hey, I think we're live now. Wow, this is different for me, District 2, but I am so excited that you're joining us here today. I want to say I appreciate the fact that so many of you guys have taken time to register to be a part of this event, this community meeting that we do every year about this time. And I did not want this year to be any different with regard to us meeting, even though the way we're doing it is so different than what we've had to do in the past. Those of you who've been to so many of my meetings, we're going to do it like we normally do. We're going to start with a prayer, because that's how we do it in District 2. So I'm going to ask my sister Avis Patterson if she will provide us with a prayer so we can get this meeting started.
Oh, gracious God, we thank you for this day.
Thank you, God.
Thank you for your power, your sovereignty in our lives. Without you, we can do nothing. Thank you, God, for every organization, every city official, every family, every community that's represented here today. God, we realize that without you, nothing that we plan, nothing that we do, nowhere that we go can last. Your word says only what we do for Christ will last. So, Father, we thank you right now. We invite you into this meeting. We thank you for all the development in this city. We thank you for all the growth in this city. We thank you for your servant, Councilwoman Sheila Patterson Harris, and all that you have done through her. We are excited about the things that you have in store for us, God. We thank you, God, for those that have put their lives on the line on a daily basis. Those who are on the front line, God, we ask your continued protection over them, God. Let us always seek you in your face for the decisions that we make, before we know that all that you do is great and mighty. So, God, we pray now that you would open up our hearts, open up our minds, open up our ears, that we may hear, that we may receive, that we may be open to receive all that you have in store for this evening. Thank you for those that have sacrificed their time just to make this happen. God, we give you glory, and we ask you right now to continue to bless and heal those that have endured the sickness through this pandemic, God. We thank you for your power, for your healing power, beyond what the doctors are able to do. Bless us one by one. Bless us individually and our families. We give honor and thanks to you for who you are, great and mighty God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Avis, for that. So, District 2, thank you again for being here. It's our annual meetings that we have. I regret the fact that we're not able to journey to each of the communities, the community centers, and even the parks like we've done in the past, to be able to sit and chat and share information and all of that like we've done. But I did not want this year to pass without us taking time to share some of the things that have been happening, kind of share some things that we have planned, where we're going, and just make you aware of some of the ways in which to actually contact city staff and take care of your business if that is what you desire and need to do. So we have some folks that are folks within the city of Lubbock, and they're going to be here. They're going to be sharing some information with us, sharing some steps and whatnot. And we'll start off where we're going to have City Manager Jared Atkinson. We'll have Chiefs Mitchell and Ferguson. We'll have Catherine Wells with the Health Department, Matt Rose with LPNL. We'll have Stuart Walker with Codes, Jessica McEachran with Assistant City Manager. She's going to be talking about some UDC stuff. We have Mr. Stephen Green with Lubbock Animal Services, Karen Murphy, with Community Development. And we have going to round it off with Ms. Tamara Duncan, who's with Legal Aid of Northwest Texas, who helps so many of us within District 2. So I'm going to have Mr. Jared Atkinson do his thing and come and share some things with us. Thank you, Mr. Atkinson, for being here. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to run us briefly through the budget, talk a little bit about where we are. The City Council at their meeting last Tuesday finished the approval of next year's budget. So we'll start with the tax rate. The tax rate is going down. It's going down by 1.64 cents or pennies, 1.64 pennies. And really the short way to describe that, we know from the Lubbock Central Appraisal District, the average home's value in Lubbock changed by 3%. If your home changed by 3% or less in the evaluation this year, then your tax bill from the city, not from the county or the school district, but from the city, will actually stay the same or goes down very slightly. If your property increased by more than that average, it will go up, but go up very slightly as well. So new tax rate, 54.157 cents. Some really good news is in this budget. First, this is the second year in a row that we've adopted a budget that has no general impact fee changes. So I'm talking here about water, sewer, solid waste, and electricity. Those major bills that all of us get, the city is not changing the rates at all for the new budget. And again, that's the second year in a row that we've been able to hold that line. Street maintenance, big issue all across town. Street maintenance is funded again at $10 million, and that $10 million in cash. This is the second year in a row that we've been able to do that and to bring it forward. One that we're really excited about is what we call the Dirt Road Residential Program. This city council 3 years ago, soon to be 4 years ago, started this program. And that's where we're working our way through town, where we have homes, we have residences that are on dirt roads. We funded that in the past at $400,000 a year to pave them. This coming year, we will do that at $800,000. So we've doubled those monies. We are looking for an additional amount of money that will come in on top of that. We don't know exactly yet what it'll be, but it could be as much as another $500,000 to help us speed that program up. Specifically to east and to north Lubbock, and this comes out of our comprehensive plan. The city council is continuing to work their way through the major priorities that were laid out in that comprehensive plan. We're down to the one now that says it's time to work on an individual neighborhood basis to develop plans for those neighborhoods. How we will go about it, the budget includes a new person that will be hired that'll work in our city planning department. This neighborhood planner, this will be their only job. They won't be working on rezonings, across town or anything else. They are here to work with each unique neighborhood, most specifically to work with the residents of those neighborhoods. We have added some capital money behind them. There's $250,000 out there to meet identified and approved needs. And when I talk about unique plans, I'm going to explain that just real quickly. This is pick any neighborhood. So we can say Parkway, Cherry Point, Chapman Hill. We pick a neighborhood. This individual will work with those residents. They start by doing an assessment, doing an inventory. What's here? What's needed here? What are we missing? Doing surveys, working with those residents again. Where do you see the needs? And then develop actions. Develop an action plan. That may be where that $250,000 comes in, all or part of it. We may find that some of those actions are really, we want enhanced code enforcement. We want enhanced police presence. We may have some major issues with a road or with a utility or something to that effect. Not every identified action will likely be for the city to fix, but they may well be for the city to support. So the city council has put that together again, two pieces. One's the person and one's the dollars behind that person to help us do that. We actually will have that job posted next week, and we're going to try to get that individual hired and get them started just as absolutely quickly as we can. I'll conclude the budget with just some big numbers real quick. If we look at the general fund budget for the city next year will be $230.8 million. That is only up by $606,000. It is a very flat budget. But I do want to note that as it relates to public safety actually went up by $1 million. So if the budget only went up by 600, public safety got $1 million. The net result of that is I have other divisions and departments, including the division that my office is in, have actually reduced their budgets to make that happen. The net change to police is they're going to be up by roughly 590,000 for the year. The city's paying off its debt. We're going to be down nearly 108 million in the new budget. And if you're curious about what the total city budget is worth, it's $867.5 million. That's only a 1.6% change there. Councilman or council member, I will stop if you have a question for me. If not, I'll go on mute and you can bring the chiefs up.
Trying to get used to muting and unmuting here, Mr. Atkinson, is something different for me. I don't have any questions. I appreciate the fact that you broke that information down. I think it was the most important information. I feel some really important information as it relates to the budget. I think we have some questions that we'll be addressing later on that may require your attention. And with that being said, I know that during this process, we had a registration period in which individuals could submit questions to city staff to begin so that we would address at this meeting. We kind of did that, if I recall correctly, we would provide individuals with cards to write their questions on. And this time we wanted to make sure people were able to submit those things. So we've got several questions that we will address toward the latter portion of the meeting. So if you submitted one, we'll do our best to make sure we get to all of the questions. If not, we'll make sure we reach out to you, provide that information on a site so that those things get answered for you. But we do have a list, and Mr. Atkinson will holler at you here in a minute to make sure you do that. I appreciate you. Next, we're gonna bring up Chief Floyd Mitchell. He's gonna be visiting with us with some updates regarding the Lubbock Police Department, and I think he's gonna give us some good stuff as it relates to the substation and how the plan will work in that fashion. Thanks for being here, Chief.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good evening, everyone out there in YouTube and Zoom land. I want to talk about the East Patrol Division stations and kind of give you guys an update on where we are with each of the Patrol Division stations or our capital improvement projects. East Patrol Division is about 25 to 30% complete at this point in time. The latest update on that is they have a few of the walls built up and they're actually erecting steel and welding all the steel together on the exterior of the building. South Patrol Division, and I'll go back. East Patrol Division is slated to be complete somewhere around mid to late May, 1st of June, and that's when we anticipate opening that station up, and that will be the first of 3 Patrol Division stations. South Patrol will be the next station that opens up. They're continuing right now to do the underground utilities, and they have poured the slab on that one. Right there. So the next thing to go up there is they'll start, the crew that's at East Patrol Division will move over there and start erecting steel and start doing that welding over there. That Patrol Division station is slated to be open sometime in August or September of 2021. And the 3rd Patrol Division station will be North Patrol Division station. And they are right now they're doing underground slab work, putting in all the electrical stuff there. The stonemasons are starting a little work over there as well. And that is scheduled to be open November or December of 2021. So that's where we are on those 3 projects that are right now under construction. We also have 2 other construction projects that are in the planning phases. The next one will be the police headquarters. We met with our project manager that works for the city and went over kind of, the final touches. We expect to have probably really the final renderings close to the end of this year, and then we'll start moving forward on that. And then our final capital improvement project or building will be the crime lab and evidence, the property and evidence section and crime lab. Me and my staff and the project manager on the city side are going to be doing some site visits to some other crime labs and property and evidence rooms to make sure that we get it right and we have a product that will take us well into the future for the city of Lubbock and our growth. The other thing I want to talk about is kind of our staffing. Who's going to be in these stations? You know, they're all going to be staffed with approximately somewhere between 65 and 75 officers going to the decentralized format. Right now, most of our people are contained within the police headquarters at 916 Texas Avenue. This decentralized format will put 75 officers, roughly 75 officers in each of the patrol division stations. And what we hope this will do is it will reduce that response time. So if we have an officer all the way out, you know, on 82nd Street or 130th, and something happens downtown, they're not traveling all the way down there to get to the call down here. Those officers will be responsible for that geographical area, and that will be their main focus. Same with the other patrol division stations that will cover North and East Patrol Division. So we had a graduation of academy class last Friday. We graduated 14 cadets from that class. So they are now starting their FTO period, which will last somewhere between 12 and 14 weeks. We also have 16 cadets that are currently still in the academy right now, and they're slated to graduate, we'll make sure I get this date right, January 14th, and they will then enter the FTO phase. And we will be starting a new class on September 28th. We have 16 cadets that will be starting the academy on September 28th, and they will be scheduled to graduate in late February. So that still leaves us with 14 current vacancies that we are testing for on November 7th to try to find applicants to fill those 14 vacancies, and we'll put them in the academy in late February as well. With that, I will stop and see if you have any questions for me.
Thanks, Chief. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about the recruiting process and if it looks a little bit different now in an effort to really add a diverse group of officers to the force. Are we doing some things in addition to, are we doing some new things, can I say that, to kind of help us in the recruiting process? Yeah,
Assistant Chief John Caspel, about 3.5, 4 months ago, we actually moved some more folks out to the academy section, the recruiting section. It had one person out there. We moved 2 more out there to assist with recruiting. And through the budget process, you and the city manager and the mayor have graciously afforded us the opportunity to institute a lateral hiring bonus to try to work to fill some of these vacancies with certified police officers. What this will do is it will allow us to shorten the training cycle because these officers are already certified. And what that'll help us do is get officers out there on the street faster. That, you know, when we lose an officer, if we lost an officer today, it's going to take us 12 to 14 months to replace that officer. And when it takes that long in the training cycle, it really puts us behind the 8 ball when we try to replace someone. So with this lateral hiring bonus, looking for certified police officers, it should allow us to fill some of these vacancies faster, putting folks out there on the street to protect and serve our community. But we are really trying to focus on hiring a diverse recruiting class. Out of this 16, if I am remembering correctly, because I'm involved in a big portion of it, I think we have either 5 or 6 female applicants within the 16 that are going to start on the 28th. We have 1 Black female, I want to say 2 Hispanic females, and either 2 or 3 white females that are in this class. So, you know, it's going to be a good class. They all did very well. So we're expecting big things out of them.
That's good to hear. I appreciate that so much. Thanks a bunch. And I think there's some questions that may come up later that I may have to shoot your way, but I appreciate your being here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All righty. And now we're going to move to Chief Ferguson with LFR, the Lubbock Fire Rescue. I appreciate you being here, Chief. What do you have for us?
I appreciate you having me, councilperson. Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit right now about what Lubbock Fire Rescue's got going on. First and foremost, right now, we're still working on the COVID response. And some of the ways we're involved with that is occupancy checks through the fire marshal's office to make sure that businesses are adhering to the COVID restrictions. And we're also doing a lot of informing and educating to the public and to businesses so that they can stay in line and we can reduce the spread of COVID. We're also involved in COVID testing. If there were to be a flare up in another nursing home or another business in town where they had a high amount of COVID cases unexpectedly, we would come in and help test those people to make sure that we know what cases we have. Emergency management is dealing with personal protective equipment delivery, coordinating that. To date, we've ordered and gotten out delivered about 2.25 million pieces of PPE to the city of Lubbock. And all this is just to help stem the spread of COVID-19. Another thing we're really excited about is our recruiting. We have a new program with LISD in conjunction with South Plains College. We've partnered with them to have a high school fire academy. And this, kind of like what Chief Mitchell was talking about, this is aimed at increasing our diversity and making sure we're doing everything we can that we have a diverse force that's representative of the community. So please tell your high school students or junior high students to be talking to their school counselors about how to get into that high school academy when they get to be that age, because there's a little prep work that needs to be done. And if they start on that path now, they'll be prepared when they're eligible for that. We've got 4 firefighters currently in California helping with the forest fires out on the West Coast. We had 4 that just returned from California. They were out there 24 days. They're home safe and sound now, and we're testing them for COVID to make sure they didn't bring anything back with them. But they were out there for 24 days, worked extremely hard in very challenging conditions. And so we're very thankful that they came back in one piece and without any illnesses. The 4 that left yesterday for California to replace the 4 that just came back, please remember to keep them in your thoughts and prayers to make sure that they get through that unscathed. One thing to note about that program, anytime we send someone off, that the costs for that are fully reimbursed by the federal government and for whatever state we send them to through the state of Texas. In fact, the equipment that we send with them actually makes a little money. So we turn a little bit of a profit on that.
Oh, thanks.
Another thing that we need to talk about is the fire hydrants in District 2. I know there was a fire that happened just outside the city limits on the east side of town. That was back on August 13th, about 4:45, a big scary fire. There was a lot of smoke. Well, there was a little confusion from the media that came out about there being an inadequate number of hydrants. The fact is, the area that was on fire was outside the city limits, and so there were no hydrants at all because the city doesn't pay for hydrants out in the county. That's the county's responsibility. Now, Lubbock Fire Rescue did respond to that fire in order to protect the homes of Lubbock citizens right inside the city limits, because that fire was outside but very close to the city limits. So we were there to make sure that that fire didn't spread into the city. And a lot of times the best way for us to make sure that doesn't happen is to assist the county agencies in extinguishing that fire so it doesn't get so big that it's uncontrollable. And that's what we did. As far as fire hydrants in District 2 in East Lubbock, there's a more than adequate supply of hydrants. So whenever a home in District 2 catches fire, we will have enough hydrants to get the job done. And that's something we pay very close attention to. We go out one time per year and actually work the hydrants. They're mechanical devices. They're very simple mechanical devices, but they're in constant contact with water. So there's a big potential there for the device to degrade a little bit. So what we do is we turn on the hydrant, make sure it works. We put a little oil in different places, make sure that hydrant's going to be there when we need it.
Thanks, Chief. I'm glad you shared that. I received a lot of calls regarding the fire that happened in the eastern portion of Lubbock County. And a lot of
Yes, ma'am.
citizens, like you stated, were thinking that it was actually inside the city limits and the responsibility of the city. And I appreciate the fact that LFR went out there and helped and basically saved some damage from happening to some of the properties that are actually inside the city limits. So a huge thank you to you and your good folks over there at LFR for the work that you do. I appreciate it. Probably
Well,
will
it was our
call you back here in a minute. So
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I'll be here.
thank you. All righty, next I have Ms. Catherine Wells with the Lubbock Health Department. Going to give us a kind of a quick overview of what's going with the health department and even share a big number that happened at the Patterson branch when we were testing over there. If you'll share that information, Ms. Catherine. Thanks for
Yes.
being here.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I think this is the first time I've actually been invited to speak at one of your community meetings. So thank you. The main focus of the health department these days, I'm sure you guys have all seen me on the news talking about this, is COVID response. We have been working really hard to make sure that we have testing available throughout our community with the help of the fire chief and also city staff. We were able to operate that COVID testing site over at the Patterson Library. We tested 1,441 individuals at that testing site between April 30th and July 31st. And that was a great effort, a great joint effort of community, all of different city departments, but it was also very hard to sustain that, plus do all of our COVID activities that are also needed. So luckily the state was able to step in and they opened up 2 different free testing sites for us. So we closed Patterson, but we got 2 additional ones in the community for free. So that's the one, there's a drive-through clinic at the Larry Combas Community Center. And then there's also one at the Rogers Park Gym. In addition to that, we've seen lots of other people step up with testing. You can go to Covenant UMC, but then there's also some places that you don't think about, like both Walmart and CVS have testing sites now. So really easy you register through your computer, you can set an appointment and get tested at those places also. So I think we have some of the best testing capacity in the state here in Lubbock, Texas, which is fantastic for controlling the outbreak. Right now, we're really seeing an increase in the number of positive tests in our young adults. So your 18 to 24-year-olds, lots of positive tests there. But I know a lot of you also have grandkids, kids in those age ranges. So please be careful. Make sure that your kids are being safe and that you're being safe and wearing those all important masks. We also want to remind everybody to get your flu shot this year. It's really important that individuals get vaccinated for flu. So if you do get sick, we can kind of know whether or not we're looking at COVID or flu, since they're very similar. They look very similar as far as signs and symptoms. Health departments trying to get some of our other programming back up and running. We have our clinics running at least 2 to 3 times a week right now, and we're looking to increase that because we know it's important for the kiddos to still get their vaccines. We're looking at doing some large flu vaccination clinics out in the community this fall, so keep an eye out for that. We're also getting our prevention workers back out on the street talking to the community. So we're excited to be looking at all of that new programming.
Thanks, Ms. Catherine. Could you give that number to the health department just in case the folks have some additional questions or concerns or whatever, or maybe want to call and ask for those locations regarding the testing sites? So
Yes, definitely. 775-2933. If you have community questions, press option 1. And then if you're a medical provider, press option 2. And we're here 8 to 5 every day, fully staffed with phones, but we're operating a 12-hour a day shift to make sure we get those contact investigations and contact tracing done. So you might get a call from the health department as late as 8 o'clock at night because we have staff here in the evenings now too.
Wow, that's great. And even when you were saying encouraging people to make sure that they get their flu shots this year to kind of help kind of determine if they end up with some symptoms, exactly what it actually is. So I didn't even think of that. So I appreciate the fact that you shared that information. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have some flu drives, make sure that we get that flu vaccination out there. We're going to be out at some of the schools providing vaccinations this fall. So we're looking forward to that. Fall's our big time of the year for vaccines at the health department.
I appreciate you. And welcome, Miss Catherine. I'm sorry the
Oh,
past
it's
years
okay.
you weren't at it, so, but now you're with us. So you're part of the fam now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, it wouldn't be a meeting if we didn't have someone from LP&L come and kind of share some information with us. Mr. Matt Rose wanted to get this information out because by now a lot of folks have the AMIs working and want to kind of share some information with that. If Mr. Matt Rose can pipe in with us.
Sure. Thank you for letting me be a part of this as always. Want to run over a few things, and you highlighted at least two of them, but obviously we have a lot that's going on right now in the way of, sorry, there you go. There's my video. Obviously we have a lot going on in the way of, large infrastructure projects, but this has also been a very busy year, just working through all of the challenges we've had this summer with customers. And coronavirus and everything that's been going on. So to race through some of these things, I'll obviously be here at the end to answer any questions, but first and foremost, on the Lubbock Power and Light side, as the city manager mentioned, our budget gets rolled into the city's budget, where the city council ultimately approves LP&L's budget and our rates. And this is the third year in a row that we have not had a base rate increase. We've been able to hold the line. All of the work that you're seeing going on around the city in terms of building new lines and substations and building to the future, all of that is covered under our current rates that had to be adjusted a few years back. But since 2017, we've been able to hold the line, even though we have about $500 million of infrastructure programs going on around the city. But I'll also mention that because of natural gas pricing and some other things, we've actually been able to lower our overall rate a total of 6 times over the past 2 years. And so the goal is to continue to work to try to, hold rates the same and then bring them down in the summer as we've been doing. But in terms of our large programs to build new lines up ahead of our joining the Texas state grid this next June, we are on target right now to build about 160 miles of transmission lines that will be coming into the city of Lubbock. That is what will connect us to the state grid, which will be the future of where we will kind of do our electrical business over the next 50, 60 years at least. Those lines are coming in the north side of the city and the east side and the south side. But if you look around the city as a whole, you'll see that there are new lines being constructed evenly across the city. And that's part of our effort to not only build lines coming in to bring power in for our customers, but also revamp all of our facilities within the city so we can increase reliability. One of the projects that we have going on is switching all of our meters out to what we call advanced meters, or some people call them smart meters. LP&L, we have our electric meters that we've been switching out, and we're about 93% of the way through that. The only kind of major chunks that we have left to be replaced are some of the larger commercial districts. And so we're working through those. And then just kind of throughout the city, some of the houses that we were not able to get to because perhaps their gate was locked or other factors that didn't allow our folks in to switch out the meters. But right now, we're about 93% of the way through. The water department, which is separate from LP&L, but they made the same decision to switch out their meters to advanced meters as well. And they are also right about 93, 94% of the way through. The advantage that this will bring for customers is that going forward, when customers call into the City of Lubbock Utilities and ask about their LP&L electric usage or their City of Lubbock Water Department usage, the customer service reps in City of Lubbock Utilities will now be able to break down their usage throughout the day and really show, where they're using water or electricity and help kind of work through, times of high usage, explaining to customers exactly how this has come about. The summertime for LPNL is always a tough time because typically customers use 2 to 3 times more electricity. This summer we lowered our rate 18% heading into the summer months. But our average customer is going to go from using about 750 kilowatt hours in a month to about 1,400 to 1,500 kilowatt hours in a month. So it's not that your rate changes, but you're using more. And so going forward, we hope to be able to use this information to work with our customers to educate them on as we head into the summer months. Your rate may not increase, but here are things that you can do to try to hold your usage in line so that you don't get surprised by your July or August bill. That always seems to be the case because as you've seen this year where we had a lot of 100-degree days, electric usage goes up and we certainly don't want customers to be surprised about that. So that will help us kind of expand our education programs. One other item, City Lubbock Utilities, which was previously located at 1301 Broadway, it has now moved over here to kind of join the rest of us in Citizens Tower. So if you want to go talk to a customer service rep, pay your bill, you'll now go to 1401 Avenue K, which is a building that is located just to the southeast of Citizens Tower. And so we have signs up at the old building, but just, please spread the word to anybody who wants to come speak with us that's where you will now, that's where you will now go. One final thing that I'll just bring up is that when it comes to City Lubbock Utilities, which is your billing service for your LPN Electric, but your City of Lubbock water, wastewater, stormwater utilities. Just want to let everybody know that we have been working very closely with customers as we go through this summer. Back in March, really before the Public Utility Commission or many others did, we suspended disconnects for customers, and we held that open for several months. We made an announcement back in July that we would need to begin transitioning back to normal business practices, but we also announced at that point that there was CARES Act funding that a lot of customers took advantage of, which is good. But we also have assistance agencies such as Neighborhood House and others that work very closely with us to help customers. And we also instituted something called Pay in 6, which is a long-term payment plan for any customers that might need time to catch up with their utilities. So what we would just stress to everybody is that please, if you are, as we come out of these summer months, if you're in a place where you're going to have a struggle paying your utility bill, please contact City Lubbock Utilities at 775-2509. If you will call us up and talk to us, we will structure a payment arrangement that works for you. But even if you've had a payment arrangement previously set that you're now falling behind on, we're more than happy to work with you to reinstate that payment arrangement or figure out some way to get you assistance. But please don't avoid contacting us to the point where you might get disconnected headed into the fall months. It makes it a lot harder to get everything worked out for you in a timely manner. So anybody that's having some issues, please call us again, 775-2509. We're more than happy to establish something to work with you and get everybody caught up as we head into the winter months. So thank you. And like I said, I'll be here to answer any questions that you might have as we go along here.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Matt. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing and giving that information for customers on what they can do and to not avoid taking care of their business. So I appreciate you. Thank you much. Next, we have Mr. Stuart Walker from the Codes Department here at the city. Mr. Stuart Walker, join us, please. Did we lose Mr. Stewart? No, there he is.
Well, I'm here.
All right,
There
Mr.
we go.
Stewart, talk to
There
you.
we go. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Obviously, I'm Stuart Walker. I'm the director of the Code Enforcement Department. Just some of the things that are going on in the department. We've got 19 inspectors Just in District 2, since January, we've initiated over 4,000 cases. A lot of those were for weeds and rubbish. I know we had some questions about, rubbish in the alleys and things of that nature. And this year, my thoughts are with the COVID epidemic, everybody staying at home, everybody cleaned out their house and didn't know where to take it. So we've spent a lot of time talking to folks, educating them on where they can dispose of things, and also cleaning up the alleys. In the department, like I said, we've got 19 inspectors. 16 of those currently are in their assigned districts. In District 2, I think I've got four areas that are represented in District 2. So I've got 4 inspectors that kind of cruise those areas. I lost my train of thought. If you've ever been to one of the town hall meetings, I lose my train of thought pretty often.
That's okay. We wouldn't feel at home if you didn't do it. Talk to us about the new map that's on the city website that people can go and kind of see what's going on with codes, the violations, and the citations, and all of that have taken place.
You bet. On the city website, if you go to the department listing, and you'll see code enforcement listed as one of the web pages. You can go on our web page, and you can look at the interactive maps. The maps are updated every month, and so you can see a tally of all the coded cases that were initiated for that month, or for the total time period in a specific area. The map is really interactive. You can get close enough, and I believe it'll tell you addresses that have been cases initiated on. So people can get on there and take a look and see what's going on in their neighborhood. As far as the website goes, it also has a lot of information about common violations, contact numbers, how to report a violation, and if you want to, you can go through the process of reporting a violation over your computer.
If they do that over the computer, can they remain anonymous, or how does it work?
Yes, ma'am. Anybody can remain anonymous, or you can give us as much information as you want to.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Stewart. Hang in here with us, because I think we may have a question or something for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Jessica McEachran. I hope I said that name right. Sometimes I just can't remember how to say it, Ms. Jessica.
You did perfect.
Right.
You did perfect.
She's going to provide some information she's one of our assistant city managers here. So Ms. Jessica, take it away.
Thank you. I wanted to give a quick update on where we are with our Unified Development Code. If you've heard us talk about this before, this was the #1 priority that came out of the updated comprehensive plan, which is called Plan Lubbock 2040. We've had a couple public meetings on this already back in the early spring, really back in February, and we haven't had any open meetings in a while, but we have 2 opportunities coming up for anybody to come participate in the next phase of that Unified Development Code. The first meeting is going to be on Tuesday, September 29th. That is a joint City Council and Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So it's a great opportunity to come listen to the consultant, tell the council where we are with this next part of the UDC, which is going to be very focused on what's called form-based code, which is a type of development standards used in downtown and mixed-use development. Then on Wednesday, September 30th in the evening, we will have a come and go open house where you can just drop by at any time, spend as little or as long as you want, talking to our consultants, looking at some of the plans that they have presented, and just visiting with us and giving us an idea if you like the direction we're going, if you have suggestions for a change. And just as a reminder of what the Unified Development Code is, we commonly call it the UDC for short. It is a comprehensive review and a consolidation of all of our development related regulations. And so it takes everything that we have in our code spread out over multiple chapters and puts it into one easier to understand, easier to navigate document for anybody that is wanting to develop property in Lubbock or redevelop property in Lubbock. So I encourage you to come on and participate with us at the end of this month. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Would you give us those dates one more time?
You bet. Tuesday, September 29th is the joint City Council and Planning Zoning Commission meeting. And I can't remember exactly what time it starts, but I want to say probably around 5:30. We'll double check that, but we'll have it posted on our website. And the open house Come and Go is going to be on Wednesday, September 30th from 6:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. And both meetings will be here at Citizens Tower.
Hey, I appreciate you, Miss Jessica. Yay.
Thank you.
I think you are a newbie too to the community meetings. Am I correct? Well, we're glad to have you and thanks for giving us that good information. Mr. Stephen Green with the Lubbock Animal Services. Talk to us, please, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. I'm also one of the first time to be here. So I think the key word for animal services this year has been innovation. We have had to break down a lot of stuff and rebuild it because of the COVID experience we've all had. One of the things we did we were closed 46 days to the public in our lobby this back in the spring, and we were able to still do everything curbside. And we did what we called a doggy drive-through adoption. And we were very successful. We adopted out about 366 animals while we were closed. And even while we were closed down, we kept running full steam ahead in field operations and in the adoption center. We closed our spay and neuter clinic here in-house for about 31 days. And we've still, up to date, we have done about 836 spay and neuters on animals in our facility, which is just amazing. When we did get to open back up to the public, we had to be innovative again and create a way to keep the public and our staff safe. And so we have a social distancing set up in the shelter. We have everybody kind of going through the shelter in one direction, using the rooms where you go from one room to the other without touching doors. And in being able to do that, we also got to participate in the Clear the Shelter event. It's a yearly event, comes in August. And so we figured out a way to do it. We stayed socially distanced, and we had 51 animals find homes that day. So it's really been a successful time. One of the things we are doing is we went to an appointment-based intake system, whether it's a stray animal or an owned animal. And the reason behind that is we have to kind of slow the curve, like we were doing on COVID and hospitalizations. We have to make sure we have enough supplies on hand to keep the animals safe. And so it's worked out very well. I know there's been some feedback about people having to wait for an appointment, but a stray appointment's usually held in about 3 days from the first phone call, and owner surrenders are about 1 day after the email comes in, and we can get those animals into our shelter. One of the things I'm most proud about is our save rate in August was 98.3%. And since fiscal year started last October, we have a save rate of 97.1% overall. The other side of the department is the field operations. And last year, well, since October of last year, we've ran 12,905 calls. And that's first time response. That isn't including follow-ups, rechecks, and what have you, or patrols. That's just first time calls. And out of those were 1,419 were aggressive animal calls. That's about an average of 129 a month. We also have done 852 welfare and cruelty cases and investigated 821 bite cases. And one of the biggest innovations during COVID on the field operations is we used to run emergency calls only after hours. We have actually went to 24-hour days, 7 day a week, full service. So we're staying busy and trying to keep the public safe.
I've gotten a lot of calls from folks where people are just basically dropping dogs off throughout the community. Talk to me about how we can help a little bit better with getting this done. What do I need to do if someone drops some dogs in my neighborhood, or I just see some stray dogs in my neighborhood? What do I need to do?
Get a hold of us and we will send an officer out there, try to take care of the problem. And this really comes to where we need community help. We need people to spay and neuter their pets, to make sure they have good fences, vaccinate their pets. If those, if you have a dog that's not fixed and it gets out, you're going to have more strays and unwanted puppies in your neighborhood. So anytime you need a officer assistant, call us. We'll get out there and do what we can.
Appreciate you, Mr. Green. Appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Ms. Karen Murphy, Community Development. You're on. Talk to us about community development. Specifically, I get concerned about rehabbing and things of that nature.
Yes, ma'am. So we were put on hold a little bit with our rehabs because of the safety of our citizens and of course of our contractors and our staff. But we are back in into the rehabs now. We actually have our open enrollment that is going on at this time. And open enrollment is where you can call our office at 775-2296, and we will do a preliminary intake, whether if you're can be qualify for the rehab program. And that is through September 30th. So we'll be receiving those calls. As always, this is owner occupied minor rehab program. And CD staff will ask you a few questions when you call in. Random selection will be done sometime in October. And then the application intake will be different due to COVID. We will be doing over the phone intake and by email. And then we also have Dropbox now outside of our offices that you can no contact drop off. And then we can call and go back through the application to make sure we have all of our information that we have to have. Also, the staff has implemented safety measures during the rehab for just to be safe. We also check to make sure that there is all of our contractors, our staff, checking to make sure that they're not sick and going into the household, but also making sure the citizens are not having any problems. But we also have figured out a way to do that if we do have a problem with that. If they've been sick beforehand, that we can provide a cleaning of the house before we actually go in for health and safety on that. And that will be on our website later on, how to do that with the intake and all of that. We have a new location. We are not at Citizen Tower. We're at 1708 Crickets. We're sharing space with the health department and with Lubbock Housing Authority. So we're at the Lubbock Housing Authority building. And we're fortunate enough that we do have a drop box, like I said, inside the main entrance of the building where you can do no contact drop off.
Cool. I'm printing something. Sorry about that. I just got some information. I was going to ask you one other thing, and I can't think of it right now. So,
well, let me just tell you about our CARES Act money that we've received and what we're doing with that.
I think that's what I was going to ask you.
Okay, so we have our normal HUD programs, CDBG, home, ESG, our emergency solution grant. And then we also have our TDHCA grants for utility assistance and for household crisis, which is the heating and air conditioning repair or replacement. And then we also have our community services funding that we have through Catholic Charities does that PEP program for parent empowerment program. Then on top of that, we got CARES Act funding for each one of these different grants. Not home, but we are actually doing. So we're doing some interesting things because we know that there's a need. Rental assistance was a big deal. We also got some the CRF money, the Corona Relief Fund, and we'd already served over 1,100 citizens with rent. We've done mortgage assistance, childcare assistance to be able to help people get back to work and have that added cost of childcare. So we're helping with childcare. Utility assistance is very important, of course. Now, the way that we determine with the CARES Act money is they have to be affected by COVID, not infected, but affected. So that means loss of income or reduction in income. So it's just more expensive. Into the segue of that is the other component that HUD and CDBG that we're able to do is we're able to assist the health department, or they actually give it to us when they have someone that is, when they do the contact tracing, when they're COVID positive, the household is in need of, and they have to stay isolated, they can't get out, or they're just too sick to do anything. So we provide food and other necessities through the CDBG grant. CD staff, we try to keep it very, I know with HIPAA and making sure that nobody is, keeps it confidential. We actually have food boxes that we've partnered with United, that they do a drop off. We have a system that we can call the citizen, find out what they need, diapers, medication, certain things that they might need during their quarantine. We go do a curbside, pick that up, and then we deliver it to the home and leave it outside and let them know that it's there. So that's just some of the things that we're able to do with all of the funding. And then again, we still have funding available for utility assistance, for heating and air conditioning repair and replacement. We have our normal funding and we also have our CARES Act funding. So we determine which funding source but it's still those minimum requirements, income, eligibility. We have to, determine the criteria, and we do all that criteria. So we still have to do all that.
Repeat that number one more time.
775-2296.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Appreciate you much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Tamara Duncan with Legal Aid of Northwest Texas. Yay, Ms. Tamara. Ms. Tamara's not a newbie. She's always at the community meetings providing information, but she's gonna with COVID, I think it's impacted some of everything and a lot of areas and walks of life. So Ms. Tamara, thank you for being here. Share with us, please.
Well, Legal Aid is a nonprofit organization. We provide free civil legal assistance to people who cannot afford to hire an attorney. We have 9 attorneys on our staff. We do a wide range of civil cases. We don't do any criminal, but some examples might be family law, protective orders, child support. We do landlord-tenant cases that I want to talk about in just a minute. Wills and probate. We can help with driver's license issues, ID issues. Sometimes people will have a problem with their ID, like their name on their social security card not matching a birth certificate. We can help with that. Expunctions and non-disclosures of criminal records can stop you from getting a job. We don't do criminal, but an expungement if you qualify as civil. So we can help with that. But one area we do see a lot of is a lot of times we see people who die and they don't have a will. And so if they owned a home, that home may pass to their heirs, and then maybe their children die and they didn't have a will either. So we'll see a home that could have multiple owners. There are things we can do to help clear up that title. There's affidavits of heirship. There's different probate remedies, but those can be very important to clear title, because some of the assistance programs that are out there for home improvements, you can't qualify if you don't have title. So that can be important for that issue. These homes also sometimes have issues with being behind on property taxes. We can help negotiate with the appraisal district. Sometimes we can help get a deferral altogether or help you get a homestead exemption. But so there's a lot of these remedies we can help with housing. The main piece of advice I'd like to give sort of to help with this is how important it is to have a will, or a transfer on death deed, so that when you do pass away, you can pass your home in an easy fashion to who you want to inherit it. And that really will help maintain owner-occupied housing within communities. I think that's one of the causes we see where neighborhoods don't have a lot of owner-occupied housing, but maybe have more rentals than homes where the owners live in them. So having a will can really help with that. We do those all the time. And then just the other hot topic is landlord-tenant. We are seeing so much of that right now. And you may have heard that there is a new moratorium on evictions for non-payment of rent that was issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Is to help slow the spread of COVID, because if a person loses housing and then they're homeless, that can facilitate the spread. So there is this new law that basically makes it illegal for a landlord to evict someone just who can't pay their rent. Now, there are some requirements for tenants. There's a declaration that a tenant would have to file, But this is a huge protection and it's new. It lasts through the end of the year. So just the takeaway on that is if you are facing eviction or someone you know is facing eviction, please reach out to a lawyer. Please reach out to us at Legal Aid. I want to give you our phone number. It's 806-763-4557. We are working remotely, so if you call, it's possible that's going to go to a voicemail, but please leave a message with your name and phone number. We're checking messages all day. We will call you back. We are taking new applications. We're taking new clients. We're going to court. Some of those hearings are Zoom, some are in person, but we are absolutely here to help in any of these areas. So please just give us a call.
Thank you, Ms. Tamara. Always good stuff. And I remember 4 years ago it's been now when we had our first community meeting, and one of the frustrations that I saw throughout so many areas of the district was that those homes that were basically vacant because there was no ownership. Grandma died, or mom died, didn't pass that house on. So I'm always an advocate for us making sure that we get those homes into someone's name so that they're able to become the owner occupied. And then, I mean, with having community development, being able to do some of the work that needs to be done on those. So thank you so much. And again, for being with us today. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All righty, we got so many folks who followed the rules and sent in their questions ahead of time. We got several and we're gonna try to get through them. Miss Lacey, you there? And we're going to try to get those answered. There are folks on the part of the panelists that'll be able to answer those. If we're not able to get to all of these, what I will make sure that we do is we'll post some of the questions and the answers on the city's website, as well as my own personal, my website, not website, what's going on with me? Facebook, so that those answers will be made available. We want to make sure we take a stab at answering all that we had come in, because I know if one person asked, there's probably several others. Would you kick us off, Miss Lacey, please?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, this comes from the Concerned Citizens group. The first question is regarding the possibility of a citizen's handbook. Question is, there are many city residents that don't know what's expected of them as a resident. Things such as dumpster responsibility, maintaining an acceptable residence, pet control, guest parking, who to contact for assistance, i.e. Parkway Drive past MLK is a state responsibility, and of utmost, alley responsibility. So how can the city help address this?
Mr. Atkinson, can you take a stab at that one?
Certainly, and I think that's a great question, suggestion. Would note that several of these items you can actually get to on the city's website by going to individual departments. What I think we will do is work on being a little more direct with how to put that on there. One of them's kind of open-ended, who to contact for assistance. Really appreciate the Concerned Citizens noting that Parkway Drive is state. Right now, 19th is state as well, actually entirely through the city from east to west, but we will work on adding some more information. I would let everybody in the audience know if any of these types of questions or others come up for the city and you don't know to whom it should be directed, call 311. Call 311, we'll get it assigned and somebody will be back in touch with you.
Thanks, Mr. Atkinson. Hey, thanks, Mr. The Concerned Citizens Group. I think that's Mr. Dwight Pierce. I always tell folks and put on my Facebook that 311 is your friend. So don't hesitate to use those digits and call and ask for the information that you need. Appreciate that, Mr. Pierce, for you guys sending that to us.
Okay. Our next one is from Rachel. My parents live on 38th Street east of I-27. There seems to be a growing issue with how the neighborhood is looking. There's a lot of trash everywhere, overgrown weeds, syringes, needles on the street, which is especially concerning because there are many children in the area, and cars parked in the yards, etc. There's also a 2-story brick home that appears abandoned. There are homeless people coming in and out of the house all the time. What can be done about these things? Don't we have code enforcement to address these issues? Why are they falling to the wayside? What are your suggestions, and how can this neighborhood be kept from further decline?
All righty. Whoever wants to take a stab at that, Mr. Stewart, that's a code deal, and so take it away.
Certainly. Yeah, weed, tall weed complaints, please call them into our office. We'll get an inspector over there. I know we've got a couple of properties right there in 600 block of 38th Street that we've got a couple of special projects. We're just waiting to schedule a contractor to get over there to haul all the stuff off. As far as the 2-story house, we'll get an address on that and get it checked out.
What I want to add I appreciate that, citizen, for sending that information. I try to get out and drive a lot of places, and sometimes I don't make it, but since that area, which is the Harwell area, is an area that I think would really benefit from an active neighborhood association. I believe Miss Minnie, who is there at the community center, is really knowledgeable of how to do that, and I'm interested in citizens being able to take that on and organizing, getting citizens together to begin to tackle and help the city tackle some of these things, scheduling cleanups, and we'll be looking at maybe getting a deployment out in that area. But I think it's really important that as citizens, we help in this, because we're in our own community all the time. So being able to pass that information on is huge. So, man, I welcome the opportunity for a citizen to take that task on and helping with Ms. Minnie and reorganizing the neighborhood association in that area. I think you had something, Chief?
Yes, Councilwoman. I'll just echo what Stuart said. If we get the address in regards to the homeless folks using the 2-story house, we'll send the hot team over there and take a look, as well as look at the possible drug usage in the area based on the syringes.
Thank you much. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, Ms. Lacy.
Okay. This question comes from Kate Peasley. It's about Planned Parenthood. Lots of press has been given to State Senator Perry's disapproval of the arrival of Planned Parenthood in Lubbock this year. What are the best ways for supporters of Planned Parenthood's presence in Lubbock to be heard?
Mr. Atkinson or someone, I mean, I have my own say on that. My state would be with any issue within the city of Lubbock. There are districts and representatives of each of those districts sharing what your concerns are. It happens all the time on there's some sundry issues that come up within the city. So I would say to begin to reach out and send information. I don't know if there's a group of you that are willing or wanting to do that, but don't remain silent on some of your concerns. Not only just that issue, but any other issues that you have available. And I'm glad that we're having this community meeting. I hate that COVID is kind of disallowed us to have so many that we normally plan, to give citizens an opportunity to share some of their concerns and let their concerns be known. If you have anything to add, Mr. Atkinson.
Ma'am, I think you're right on track. Would encourage anybody that has any comments to reach out to the council offices. You can send emails, you can make phone calls. They're all logged. So we have a record of those if it ever, becomes needed.
Righty, Ms. Lacy.
Okay. This next question comes from the Concerned Citizens Group again, regarding city employees reporting violations. There are city workers that use city vehicles to perform their work: police, fire, dumpster pickup, parks, etc. Do these employees report road hazards, code violations, and other conditions as they travel from different job locations?
I can certainly chime in on that. I know all the departments that are out in the field regularly call in addresses and issues to codes, especially rubbish in the alleys or on vacant lots and things of that nature.
I would echo that again. Stuart, you and I are like connected at the hip tonight. Officers that see down traffic lights, trees that have overgrown stop signs and things like that, they log that information into the dispatcher, and the dispatcher notifies codes or the appropriate department so they can take care of it.
Same process with fire hazards or other unsafe conditions. We log those and refer them to the proper department.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks a bunch. All righty, Miss Lacy. Our next question.
Who's here for the cleaning crew? I'm Debbie.
I know it sounds like you got company, but that's fine. Keep going. That doesn't hurt
All
my
right. Okay, this is from Sheila Powell. Is there a plan for new lights in the neighborhoods?
Either Jared or Mr. Matt Rose.
I can address that since, council member, this is your and I's favorite topic.
Is that a nice way of you saying that I get on your nerves about this, Mr. Matt Rose?
Not in the least. Okay, I'm trying to start my video here, but it's saying I'm disabled. So I'll just start my answer, and if I pop up. So to the question of, are there plans for new lights in the city? So first of all, we have a longstanding city policy that LP&L follows in terms of the installation of lights. So the city policy states that on any given block, if that city block is less than 700 feet intersection to intersection, then there should be a light on each corner. If that neighborhood block is longer than 700 feet from intersection to intersection, then there can and should be a light in the middle of the block. And so we field a lot of questions. The council member does as well, in terms of people saying, can you all come put more lights on my street? And we always have to go back to that policy. And so we're regularly sending our folks out there to take a look at whether or not a street that has been raised, concerned about a street being raised, if it's within the city policy or not. Now, if you have a street light in your neighborhood or a string of lights that are out, we certainly want to know about that. We have multiple crews that work street light outages, and we try to do so in a proactive manner, but several points during the year, they probably do more reacting than they do proactive work. And as we come into the fall and it starts getting darker earlier and we go through the time change, we will get a lot of emails and calls in of people saying there are lights in my street that are out, just because they notice them more because you're driving home and you see them out as you drive home because it's darker. So the best way to report street lights being out is to call 311, as the city manager mentioned, or you can send an email to streetlights@lpndl.com. That goes directly to our dispatch center and they put that work order in. So if you're in a neighborhood where you feel like there need to be more street lights, and it doesn't seem like on a long block that there's that middle light, please send us an email through streetlights@lpndl.com or call 311, and our folks will go out there, measure it, and see if per city policy we can put an additional street light there. Now, when it comes to city parks, the lighting in parks, that's not necessarily an LP&L decision in terms of putting in new lights there. That would be something that would fall on the city side, but you can still call 311 to report that, and LP&L will work with the city, but we'll make sure we go out there to see if where somebody's put a request in, if there should be a light there and there's not, we'll certainly work to put one in. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention just very quickly is that we do have a project going on right now. We're replacing all the street lights across the city with more efficient LED lighting. It's a better light in terms of how it displays on the road. Plus, it saves everybody money because it's more efficient. But obviously, there's a big upfront cost. So we're starting with 3 specific sections of town. And the very first one that we're going to address runs down MLK. And so looking at the schedule here, those lights are set to be installed starting on September 17th. So this week, we will start working on putting that string of new lighting all the way up and down MLK. We also have a section on University and a section out on 82nd Street. And once those are completed, we'll take a look at expanding that out proactively in coming years. But as streetlights go out, those streetlight heads and lights will be replaced with new LED lighting, which should provide better illumination on the roadways. So that's my very quick answer. But council member or city manager, if I left something out, please let me know.
Oh, that's good stuff, Matt. I'm glad you shared that. The thing of it is, as you get, LP&L gets out and replaces a lot of those, the heads on a lot of those old lights, I get lots of compliments and requests by citizens saying, put that over here, put that light in front of this area, whatever. So I appreciate the information. Thanks.
Well, it is certainly a public safety issue that we're very cognizant of, but we also want to make sure as we put these lights in, that also does not, in some instances, create too much light in a specific area where it harms people's, ability to sleep at night and things. So we're trying to think through how to do the best of both worlds.
Thank you, sir. All right, Miss Lacy.
Okay, this one is from John. My neighbors have so many dogs, they frequently let them outside without leashes. They have a really aggressive dog tied up on a leash outside without food or water, even when they aren't home. They have more than 4 dogs and treat them abysmally. Animal control has come by even when they aren't home and seen the dog tied up in the front yard without food or water and don't do anything. How do you plan to address code issues like this that, while reported, are never dealt with?
All right. Mr. Green, is that one for you?
Yes, ma'am, I can take that one. A lot of times we have enforceable infractions, and the residents don't always see how we handle those. We may have made contact with the owner and issued citations. We may have given them some time to correct the issues. So every case is a little different. We do have tethering ordinances and restraint ordinances in Lubbock, and we do follow those. We try to get compliance. That's our goal at the end of the day. And we can utilize citations as a good tool. Usually that gets somebody's attention when you write them a couple of heavy citations. Once again, best thing to do is if a neighbor's having those issues, is a squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. So keep calling us. You can reach us at 775-2057, and we'll get somebody out there and investigate it. And I know there's some cases where we're to a location 10, 12 times in a couple year period because some people just aren't going to comply. Other people, you go out there one time and talk to them and they get fully compliant. So it's an issue we take very serious.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Lacy.
Okay, this comes from Bill Van. Given we have access to APs regarding the weather and weather alerts, why does the city need to spend $1 million on a tornado warning system, especially when there are no public shelters?
Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you. That's a great question. I need to confess up front, I'm not sure what AP means, but I would like to talk about the outdoor warning system. So it's one tool. It's one piece. It has an advantage in several respects. If you're outdoors in the populated area of the city and the conditions merit us setting those sirens off, they will all go off. They will all go off instantly. And everybody that's where they can hear them outside will have a chance to hear them. Doesn't take the place of what you can get, say, through a smartphone. If you've signed up for LBK Alert, if you're signed up on some of our local news stations, you'll get those alerts. I will tell you they are not instant. If you hit the button and we have to send out 30, 35,000 text messages, they'll come quick. They will not all come at the same time. Best way to protect yourself and your family, certainly subscribe to LBK Alert. Would recommend every home have one of the weather radios that you can program to your unique geography. You can program those down to a zip code, and the outdoor warning system. With that, you're going to have every chance that we can give you to know that something's up. You need to find the information and you need to take action to protect yourself.
Thank you, sir. All righty, Ms. Lacy. Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. I appreciate you sharing that information.
Okay, this one also comes from Bill Van. Given gang activity, drug activity, shootings, and other major crimes in Lubbock, do you plan to defund the police? And given the above major crimes, why are the police spending time on prostitution activities?
So if you'd like, I'll take on the defund the police portion of that, and then we'll turn it over to Chief Mitchell to talk about the second. The city council, the mayor and the city council of Lubbock have indicated no intent to defund the police. And if we go back to the initial part of my discussion tonight, the single largest departmental increase in the coming year's budget is for the Lubbock Police Department. So we are not defunding. And in fact, within the limits we find ourselves due to the COVID situation, we continue to invest in the police. So Chief, do you want to speak to the second part of that question?
Yes, sir. What I would tell you, it's all connected. Gang activity and the drug activity has to do with the human traffic activity. I would like to say that we spend a lot of time on vice and drug operations, but we don't. How we're able to do this in Lubbock is we cooperate and coordinate with the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office and DPS to help us address these situations. And we've always done this. We haven't increased it. What you have seen here in the press the last couple of months is we have moved toward publicizing our efforts to curb the human trafficking within the Lubbock community.
I appreciate that, Chief. I had the opportunity to work in the juvenile justice system for a long time. And as the back portion of my time there, I don't think people would even imagine the amount of human trafficking that was taking place with the young women and even some boys in some cases, and the danger that it placed in their lives. And as you stated, it's all connected. It's all connected. So I appreciate you for sharing that. And it's important. Anytime anybody is in harm's way for any reason, I think it's something that we get to pay attention to. So I appreciate that greatly. All righty, Miss Lacy.
Okay, this one comes from Aurelia Portillo. Are the roads going to be paved on Avenue B?
You know, and if I had the opportunity, I'd had a whole bucket full of money, man. I'd get them all, but I'll let Miss Jessica talk about that, because it's something that I push without ceasing. So Miss Jessica, please.
Yes, ma'am. I am going to check our list, but I do know that for this next fiscal year, for the budget that we just approved, Avenue B is not an included project on that list, but I will send this over to our engineering department tomorrow to take a look at.
Because I'm thinking that that's in the Southgate area, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure what all, we have several over there to do. And I think they're just finishing up Avenue F.
Yes, ma'am.
I drove it just the other day, man, and it really felt good. And saw lots of citizens driving up and down that way. So thank you for that information. We'll make sure that if it is not on the list, that we make sure that it is one of the ones that we flag.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Jessica. All right, Ms. Lacy, we have any other questions? I think we have a few more minutes, and we want to make sure we get to as many as we can.
Yes, we have one more from Jerry L. Edwards. How can the city do more to encourage people to invest in our part of town?
I'm not sure, you know, what part of town he's talking about. I guess we could just take anywhere, let's just speak it anywhere in District 2. Because as I look, it's actually an issue in a lot of the areas within the district.
Okay, Patterson Harris, I'll be glad to kind of jump on that one, start talking about it. So the city does not drive public investment, but private investment, excuse me. But the city's got a very important role in encouraging private investment, and that is by putting in place those public infrastructure items that are necessary for private investment. And this is the same if we're going to talk about residential development, if we want to talk about retail, commercial, whatever it may happen to be. So our focus is today. We talked about it. Street maintenance doesn't sound like it's driving economic development, but it is. You've got to have that good infrastructure. Same with water, with wastewater. The fire chief talked a bit about the fire hydrant network. All of those are the proper role of the city, and we're going to continue to do that. The private investment will follow. And it has. We've done some reporting on District 2 lately to see the increase in the number of building permits, both for single family homes and for commercial. It's there. We do have available one set of grant programs. Those come out of Market Lubbock, Inc. That's a way to assist with what's called a permittable grant, which will offset part of the cost of a building permit, as well as a facade grant, so a unique piece for the front. I believe to date we've approved 5 of those in what's defined as the East Lubbock market. So if anybody's got an idea, and these are for commercial, they're not for residential, chase that money. It's there. We want to give it out. The city council has approved, to my knowledge, every single one of those that has come in front of them. So, ma'am, I'll stop and take any questions.
Okay, looking at our time, let's do one more, Miss Lacy. And as I stated earlier, everybody, man, I don't like to take up everybody's evening. And I just want to make sure that we meet, give a lot of information for folks. And if we don't get your question answered tonight, please shoot it to us. We can post it or we can respond to you or whatever. I want to say I appreciate all of the questions that were sent in. There's still several more. So you may be getting an email from me or whatever. So I want to make sure that we get your question answered. We've given you a lot of information from so many folks from different departments and all. And I know it's not enough because there's so much that the city does, but let's take one more, Miss Lacy, before we get out of here.
Okay. 2 to 3 times a year, especially with rain or snow, the dumpster drivers create deep ruts that sink the surface. This causes the alley to sink closer to the under pipelines. Also, too many residents, especially renters, do not cut alley grass nor pick up trash as in the alley. How can we help with this?
I'll start. Have some pros jump in as we get closer. Stuart can talk about the alley grass and so forth. Let me talk about the alleys themselves. So the majority of our alleys are dirt. We have a unique department inside the street department that exists to maintain those dirt alleys. That number is 775-2606. There's an email, streetdispatch@mylubbock.us, or we can go back to our old favorite, 311. If you're having issues with those ruts, and they absolutely do happen, give us a call. We're going to get out there and level those back up. So, Stuart?
Yes, sir. As far as alleys go, weeds and rubbish, please just give us a call. My inspectors are not able to drive down every alley, every day or even every week. But once we know that address, we follow the procedure, send out the notice. We send those notices to the property owner. We'll tag that. We'll put a notice on the front door notifying if it's a rent house as well. But yeah, if they don't come into compliance and mow it themselves, we'll send a contractor out there to do it.
I appreciate you for that information. And I was just going to kind of point out for some citizens, some things that they may have been passing by that are taking place, because we are responding when there are issues within the community. We're citing people. I'm sure some citizens have passed by and seen some houses that they may have complained about that are not there anymore. So we're trying our best to get everything done so that we improve our communities in every fashion that we can. Like Mr. Atkinson stated today, using 311 to provide that information. Hate the fact that it is not open 24/7, but when it is open, make sure you're contacting 311 and asking for the information, providing those reports or whatever it is that you need to do. I'm gonna take one more minute before we get out of here. Man, I appreciate everybody that showed up to the meeting today. I wish we were in person and I reach out and grab all of you and hug you like we normally do. But I'm glad you're here. Remember, there's something for everybody to do. Even if your task becomes just calling in the lights that are out on the street, man, everybody's important and we get to do this thing together. And just want to leave these last words in my TJ Patterson voice: turn to each other, not on each other. I appreciate you guys for being here. Blessings to you. This was our first one. We may do it again. We'll maybe get some responses from everybody to see how it went, but I appreciate everybody for being here. Thanks to the city staff. Thank you, Ms. Tamara Duncan, for your information. Blessings to you guys. And from District 2, peace.